Make of thyselves that which ye desire, be it a lord, be it a god. But should ye fail to become aught at all, ye will be forsaken, amounting only to sacrifices.
Abandons you.
Why accept the burden of their grace, or be fooled by the dogmatic ramblings of the fingers? Rise with us, against the Earth Tree.
Never met someone with a taste for barnacles. We'd make good mates, I reckon.
I bid thee travel the path of the Lord, and once all is done, we shall see each other once more.
Now, go forth. Become Elden Lord.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Northern NerdCast. As you can see, I am not in my basement, surrounded by copious amounts of video games. We are actually in Barrie, Ontario, which is about an hour and a half outside of Toronto. Came to do some game hunting and at the same time have a phenomenal chat with Anthony Howell. Thank you so much for agreeing to take part in this podcast.
My pleasure. Nice to be here. Yeah.
It's 7:30, well, 7:40 here, so we're just slowly waking up. We've got our Tim Hortons coffee.
Extra large.
No, that's actually just a large.
Is it really?
But anyways, so yeah, we just when I had mentioned to Clayton that through Jane Perry, thank you very much, Jane, for setting this up. He went out, bought Elden Ring, and I think he destroyed the game completely. Like he beat the secret boss in like 28 seconds and filmed it. And,
you and I have had words before.
Yeah,
several occasions.
So first of all, congratulations on being part of, as I mentioned in the email, quite possibly what many are considering the greatest video game ever made. Like, this thing is just,
it's a monster.
A monster, like critically acclaimed, every single thing. I think the only complaint that a lot of people have are your casual gamers that say it's too hard. But that's the kind of game that you've signed up for. Like, you know what you're getting into. So
it is actually, if like, I have a lot of experience with the Souls games, and it is actually the easiest of the Souls games. Like, the critical path is the easiest.
Right. Okay.
It's when you branch off into the optional stuff that things really get actually difficult. But as long as you prepare, you know.
Yes.
You're good.
So and also thank you for making me just stop playing the game. Not in a bad way, but I, like, not you personally, but your character. I was clearly very underleveled, and I was like, oh, that looks like a safe place to get away from all these enemies. So I run up the bridge, and all of a sudden the magic pillars come up, and I was like, oh, this is bad. And that was my first encounter with Margit, was accidentally stumbling across this guy. And I think I took 2 hits and I was done. And just hearing the taunts like that you utter when you're fighting against the player, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm good for now. so then this guy sends me a message. He's like, that was pretty easy, and I'm like, but so when you like, did you know beforehand what this was, or was this kind of like another AAA code name game where like you like, you know, it was just completely opposite of what it became?
Yes, absolutely. It was that all the games are given code names. As far as I know, all the games I've worked on certainly are called, you know, Project something, and it will have nothing to do with the game. So you have no idea. And it really wasn't until Liquid Violet, who cast and recorded the game in London, had invited some of the actors to the launch party, that we discovered that it was Elden Ring. And then day by day after the release, you know, everybody realized what a huge game this was going to be, and you know what it was already, a huge game. So yeah, you're generally in the dark, unless you know you're recording a game and you know the name Obi-Wan comes up.
Yeah.
Oh hey, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, I wonder what that is.
No, totally different Obi-Wan. Yeah.
yeah.
No,
Obi-2. Hey, Obi-2. So yeah, they're very, very good at keeping it a secret, and it's you know the companies that cast them and the gaming companies, that you know everybody, you sign an NDA, it's all kind of sealed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of all the people, like, it's nice too, like for you, all the people who played the game will have gotten at least as far as Margit before they gave up.
Yeah.
So they will all hear you utter your famous line of the foul tarnished and the flame of ambition and everything, and fight you on the bridge. So
yeah.
You're a really good break-in character for this game, like letting you know that it wants to destroy you.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm here on the bridge, and I got my little wooden shield and my little sword there. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah. I'm impressed though that you got past Margit so quickly. That's
Well, I didn't get past Margit quickly. I had to get the.
He had to get good.
I had to get good. I had to get
okay.
I got Margit Shackle, and I ran around. And the nice thing about Elden Ring is that it gives you the chance to run around and level up, and then come back to the boss and say, okay, now let's go toe to toe. But the second time when you run into him, I think you run into him again, Margit the Fell Omen, in the Landell field. Well, you didn't stand a chance.
So you've had an extensive background in live action roles and TV. What drew you to voice acting? Like, was it just like a natural thing, or did somebody say, hey, you know, like you've got a voice for gaming? Because I mean, you've been in Final Fantasy, you've been in. Okay, is it Vampyr or Vampyr? Because I've heard different people say different things. So I go with Vampyr because that's.
Yeah, I think it's Vampyr, just with a funky spelling. I think.
So how did you make that? I mean, not really a transition, because you still do other roles, but how did you transition into a voice actor?
It was really, I went to a casting for a game which involved motion capture as well as voice. In fact, it was just the motion capture, and it was for Castlevania, Lords of Shadow.
Oh yeah, I love that one too. Huge fan.
So it was the first game casting I think I'd been to, and I just turned up and was very fortunate and got the part of Dracula, of the lead the lead character. And that was for 3 weeks, maybe a bit more with the rehearsal of mocap, working with an amazing director, Kate Saxon, and Jesus, who was the game director. And so that was my first kind of foray into game. But then the voice came later because Robert Carlyle was already on board to voice the character. So, but they very kindly said, well, we like your voice. Why don't you do another character? So I voiced Trevor. And then, the company that cast that side, who were a huge, very, very big company in London, got me in for other games, and it began to build from that, really. And I've just been, lucky that these roles have come along, and I've been able to do them because, there are many, many good actors out there, and I'm just, very fortunate to have landed the roles I have.
Absolutely. Of all the roles that you've done, like what was your most, like, your proudest role, like of what you've done? Like, it's what's your favorite role? Sorry, I just had a moment there.
I mean, in terms of the games and the roles, there are numerous ones that I've really, really enjoyed, for all kinds of reasons. But something that stands out and will always stand out is the trailer that we did for Diablo 4 with Blizzard, partly because of the care that went into the game. It is, I don't know if you've seen it. If you can, look up Diablo 4 trailer, because it is exquisite. And if you can, watch it on a big TV with a good sound system.
Okay.
Because the graphics are unbelievable. The performances are amazing. The whole thing, the direction, the sound production was just, beyond my expectations of any game kind of environment. So, and it was, on top of that, it was a really lovely thing to do. We took a long time over it. The lovely directors, Andrea from Blizzard, and Adam Chapman from Liquid Violet, and Max, the engineer, we've all become friends, kind of partly because of working together on that experience. So for me, it has a very special place in my heart because it engendered these lovely relationships, and it has a lot of memories attached to it. But as a piece of gaming, animation, it is unbelievable. And then on top of that, it was launched at BlizzCon in 2019, and we had this sort of party in London whilst they were launching it in LA. And they put it up on the big screen in the main auditorium.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just so incredible to hear it in the Liquid Violet studios with the sound system, knowing that all these people at BlizzCon were watching, and feeling really proud that, these hundreds, thousands of hours that must have gone into it by the team at Blizzard, the effect it was having on people. Because every time I hear it, I just freak out. It's amazing. So that one.
That's awesome. And that's actually Diablo 4. It's not the one that just came out, the Diablo Immortal. That's a completely different game. Okay.
Yeah, this is still in production, and we don't have a release date for that.
So needless to say, and if you can't say it, you can't say it, but expect to see you in Diablo 4.
I can't say. All I can say is I know that they're working on it now. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And we would never pry. So it's just
no.
Here you get hints when somebody's talking about a trailer or something. It's like, okay,
Yeah, I mean, the
without
trailer's
saying
coming out.
anything. So, so when you do the roles, are you given free reign on what the character sounds like, or do you have the team say, okay, he's a disheveled old man, or like he's the fell lord, like do you have your own input? Like, okay, I'll say this, or this doesn't work.
Like, do you have like a trainer, or
Yeah.
are they showing you the footage and you're dubbing basically over top of it while the character is on the screen? Like, so you see the atmosphere, so you see what you need to bring to that scene?
It varies. It varies dependent on how far they are along in the process of creating the game. So sometimes you will be given, I mean, it starts in the casting process where you're often just given a visual, a 2D picture of how the character looks. And from that, you'll make your own kind of intuitive decision on where the voice for that character will lie. Then if you're fortunate enough to get the role, then you'll go into the studio. They may well then present you with little bits of animation. It may be sketched animation. It may be rendered. It may be part of a bit of both. It might be a hybrid. And then you'll have the director, and then the designers and the game producers and designers in on the call as well. So you'll do something that is close to the audition you did, so however the character sounded when you first did it, and then they will just tweak it. And they may have more animation. If it's a cutscene, then you will probably do it to picture. But if it's in game, sometimes they don't have the renderings or the game animation yet. So you do it blind, but you will do it under the direction of the designers. So you're never alone. You're really fully supported by the designers and the director. So you try your thing, and then they'll say, ooh, maybe. And also the designers know so much more than you do because they've been working on it for like 2 years or whatever. Yeah. So they can give you these brilliant little insights into the character that you can then work on and try and give them, how they see the character in your voice, with the moderation in your voice.
That's awesome. I had another question on the tip of my tongue, and I was just like, as you were talking, you answered it. So I was like, okay, I gotta get another one in the chamber.
You're talking, and I just hear Morgott's voice explaining things. Oh my god. Okay. Shouldn't you have like a sword in your hand and be kicking my ass or something?
So, as I mentioned before, I feel like I should have this enormous tail behind me.
Yeah.
Now,
I've said.
Sorry, go ahead.
When we were given the animations for Elden Ring, and I got Margit, because it was 2D and they never spun him around, and I think even in the jumping, or for some reason I didn't register that he had this enormous tail, which when I came to play the game, I was like, whoa.
How weird is it? You played the game. How weird is it to be playing the game and go up against a boss and it's your voice? You're like, you know what? I believe you.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not great at games, so I don't hear much of my voice.
So were all of your lines done like separate from the rest of the cast, or did you meet the cast, or was a lot of this done during the pandemic, like a lot of the other games that were being made? Like I know when we were talking with Jane Perry about like the very end of Hitman 3, like a lot of it was done or even Returnal, a lot of it was done separate, and you just heard your castmates' lines, but you never actually interacted with them. Like, was that the same experience with Elden Ring?
Absolutely, yeah. It was all done. We were given lines and we recorded them blind, as it were. There was no interaction. sometimes there is. On Vampyr, for example, we had some sessions where we were, 2 or 3 of us, or 2 of us were in the room together playing the scene, which was lovely, really, really nice, because, and that's something that I think actors have missed over the pandemic. A lot of actors were really lucky to work in video game and voice work, so which is very isolated. You could either work from home, or when you went into studios, you were basically on your own. An engineer was in the next room, and COVID protocols were observed, so it was all very safe. But what you miss is that being in a room with other actors and acting with them and playing off them. So doing that in games like Vampyr, for example, was just lovely, because you could you could look at the actor while you were talking to them, and hear their response, and the nuances, or the energy would change moment to moment depending on what you got from the other actor. So
you got a more like real feel to it, like where you I'm not saying anything was phoned in, but you have that energy, like you just said, bouncing off, so like you could put more of an emphasis into something, whereas like you said, you're fed lines blind, so it's
but I suppose with certainly with characters like Margit, he doesn't really sit down and chat to many people anyway, so I don't know. I think recording the lines as we did was a good way of doing it. And also, they take a lot of time, and they really give you time to, to do the best you can, because there's so much work put into the game before, you are like the last kind of however many percent, tiny percent when a game, gets finished. So they give you the time to explore, and so being on your own isn't necessarily a bad thing. You can polish it for us.
You have the whole stage to yourself, even like in the game too, right? So you get to the castle or whatever, and then they show the cutscene and it plays, and you're not playing off of any other characters except for the protagonist, whoever it may be, me, whatever. Yes. And you're up on a rampart, and you command the presence of the entire scene. So there's nobody to play off of. It's just you. So you can throw as much into it as you want to. You are the dominating aspect of the scene. So you can't I understand what you're saying. You can't be, they want to give you the time, because you can't be like, hey, I'm Margit, I'm gonna beat you. You know what I mean? They want you to be that big, all-encompassing antagonist. So they want to give you the time to do that. That's awesome.
So he gave his opinion already, and I mean, obviously I haven't gotten this far into it, but you voiced both Margit and Morgott. Who would ultimately win if they ever had a showdown? He went with Margit.
No.
Oh, you. I got it wrong. Sorry.
So I said Morgott, because you're so underprepared for Margit. He's the first skill check of the game, right? So lots of players will get to him, and they'll kick their ass. But Morgott is actually the more menacing of the two. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, I haven't reached Morgott, and probably never will. I'm going to go with you, because
I think I just spoiled it for him a little bit. Okay.
But I had a chat with Max, the sound engineer, on it, and apparently there are mirrors of each other. So I'm not sure whether they're not one and the same. Whether it's just a reflection, whether Margit is just a reflection of Morgott. So I don't know. I mean, is that a bit kind of way out there? And
we're really getting into the
you thought incredible mind.
You thought way more into that than I did, that's for sure.
So for again, I had mentioned that up until I was yesterday years old to discover that you had voiced the main character of Vampyr. Is there anything that you can say about it, non-spoiler wise? Like again, you voiced the character, but for somebody like me or Clayton who is just getting into the game, is there like can you give like a brief synopsis on what the story of Vampyr is?
Gosh, yeah. So Jonathan Reed is a doctor who was, I don't want to do any spoilers really, but I mean, he has been brought back to life. He essentially died on the battlefield and was brought back to life by something.
Okay.
And because he's essentially good, but he's also a vampire, there's this internal conflict. And he moves through the game, and you as the player move through the game, encountering various family members, various people he knows, doesn't know, and it's about his relationship and coming to terms with who he is and basically trying to solve the problem of being a vampire, I guess. But I don't want to say too much more, but
Fair enough.
it's a lovely game because the relationships are so beautifully written and performed. I mean, there's some beautiful performances in it. So it's just a lovely game to play, and visually, I mean, it's stunning. So I hope you enjoy it.
So I mean, if you're gonna play it, like literally the first 5 minutes of the game, you kill your sister.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And then,
I'm totally in.
And then you're chased by like some kind of organization, and like I just picked up where people are trying to break into the house that you're in, just trying to recover from everything, and then that's literally where I am. So I mean, I've had a lot of friends. I have one friend who I guess platinumed it, and he did it the hardest way, where he didn't, apart from the necessary feedings, he did not go out of his way to feed off anybody.
Really?
And he said it was the most grinding experience he did, because he wanted to go that aspect where, okay, I'm a vampire, but I'm not going to feed off people unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So he played it that way, and it sounds like your choices do make an impact on further parts in the game. So it's almost like Dishonored, where if you go and kill everyone, the more rats come on the game and become a plague.
Yeah.
But it really hooked me, and I'm sorry that I didn't pick this up sooner. We were out yesterday, and I was looking at like just the roles that you had done, and I was like, oh my God, and it was right in front of me. So it was like, it was fate. So I picked up the game, and actually I have it on both PlayStation and now Nintendo Switch. So I have it portably. But
brilliant.
It really hooked me literally the first, as soon as you load it in, and it's like the whole, like, it's dark, but the sunlight starts coming in and you got to move through the shadows. It's really, really cool. So it's, I'm really looking forward to it. It's a role-playing game, which is right up my alley. So it's just a matter of how long it's going to take me to play. and unlike Soul-style games, I don't think this is going to be as punishing, so I'll be able to enjoy the experience a little bit. Excuse me. So, he was also in Final Fantasy XIV. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah.
I never actually played Final Fantasy XIV. It's funny. I own it. I never actually played it though.
Is it like all the
to my eternal shame, because now apparently it is the most popular MMORPG on the planet. So
yeah,
I wasn't aware that you were in that.
Is there anything that you can tell us? And I'm also in the same boat. For me, Final Fantasy is Final Fantasy. Like I have nothing against online, but I don't think they should have called it Final Fantasy 14. It should have been Final Fantasy Online 2. But your characters, character, is there anything that you can say about him that, again, no spoilers, but I mean, you've been in the main game as well as I believe 2 of the expansions. So obviously you're a mainstay in the series. But what can you tell us about your character?
So Fortuno Leveilleur is he's a very, very he's part of the forum, so part of the sort of the governing body of Eorzea, and he has strong principles about what is right, what is wrong, what their duty is, the sort of limits of their ability or their right to interfere with the way things are. And because of that, I think that for him, he has a very difficult relationship with his son and his daughter, Alphino and Elisée. So for him, as part of the story, his relationship with his children changes and develops. It sort of does it's kind of like a 360, and it's influenced by his father and who he thought his father was and what his father represented. So it's a big story about the world they live on, but it's also a family story. It's a story about his relationship with his children, and I suppose learning to let go, I guess, and realizing that dad doesn't always know best.
This is life. I have 3 girls, and I'm constantly. It's usually when they're angry and they say you don't know anything. So okay, well,
yeah.
Like, I guess I don't know what you're going through at 11 years old. So, but
it's pretty much that. Yeah.
it's an everyday battle. So, but. I mean, I wouldn't change it. Like my oldest, she's inherited my gaming genes, if you will. So she's really into well, unfortunately, she's into Roblox. So I don't know if you voiced any characters in Roblox.
No, I've not. No.
But she loves that game, and it's her first. I guess you can consider it a massive multiplayer online game. But if that's what makes you happy, she plays with her friends, I'm happy. But yeah, she's just every time, she even uses that excuse. My wife will say it's dinner time. I can't, I'm in a boss battle. I told her that at a very young age. That'll buy you 5 extra minutes because she'll leave you alone. But she uses it a little bit too liberally now. So, but yeah, no, she's now getting into a little bit, not the mature game, but she's getting out of her comfort zone, and she's starting to play more different style games. But yeah, she's not quite there for any of the games that you've been in yet. Well, maybe Final Fantasy, but yeah, it's just she likes what she does. So, but I don't know anything when it comes to for gaming. So
I think that's every father, though. You are the caretaker and the wizened old man, yet somehow you still manage to be a burden. Yes. I am a burden to my children. Hey, look, I have all of this life experience. I want to teach you all of these things. Oh my God, Dad, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you have any upcoming projects that you can talk about, or anything that people are hoping to see you in besides Diablo 4 that you're not in? So just kidding.
I'm just trying to think. Not that I can talk about, I don't think.
So you're in everything. I hear that.
No, I'm just trying to think if there's something that's close to release, but no, I think I don't think I can say anything until things come out. No, I'm really sorry. I'd love to be able
it's all good.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get asked that by a lot of people, and I mean it's just part of your genetics. Sorry, I can't say and I respect that. like you guys work very hard for what you do, and like the last thing I would ever want to do is jeopardize something by like even a slip of the tongue. And then like thankfully these things, like this one's not live, so if I had to edit anything out, and I'm not saying give us a hint, but I would take it out. Like we're going to be doing a Hitman roundtable chat with Jane, David, Philip Roche, and John Hopkins, and it won't be live because there's a lot of upcoming stuff that they can't talk about. So, but yeah, we would never go out of our way to be like, no, you have to tell us what you're doing. Like, no, you don't.
As long as you're not like, no, actually, I'm currently between jobs. Then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to hear from him soon.
So, I'm just going through some of my questions that I think everything that I had asked was answered. Did you have any other questions, even like going back to Margit or?
No.
So I just wanted to thank you. I didn't know how to reach out to you, and it just so happened that I had mentioned to Jane that I had reached out, and she's like, oh, I'm really good friends with him, and would you like to chat with him? I said, yeah,
for sure.
Like I love doing stuff like this. Like I feel very blessed to be able to reach out, and I actually have to give props because I saw you on Dan Allen, and I was like, I can do that. Yeah. I can chat with people, and it was I really enjoyed your interview on his show, and
oh great.
But like I'm very blessed to be able to do this with Clayton, and we've had some phenomenal guests on, and got you on now as well. So we're adding you to the legendary list, if you will. So
I saw some of your interview with Jane. That was lovely. Really.
You can't say anything bad about her. She's such a sweet person, and like just goes out of her way to make people feel comfortable. Like I always get nervous right before, like literally as soon as when you signed on this morning and they said you're in the waiting room, like it's just that oh my god, it's here. And but every single one of you has made it very enjoyable, and it's where it doesn't feel like it's just get to point A to point B and then okay, that's it, thank you. Like you guys are all busy, and just taking the time out to chat with us is like
awesome.
It's awesome, and I appreciate every single guest that we have, and it's I don't get paid for this. Like people are like, oh, you should do this full time. Well, right now it doesn't pay the bills. But no, it's a great little side gig, and I thank you so much, and thank you for doing the roles that you do. Like it's one thing to play a game that you're not invested in because the voice acting is not there, but like you can feel the enthusiasm that you do behind every role, like the emotions that you in Vampyr. Like again, I'm only like 20 minutes in, but when you killed your sister, you feel that, and it's like, wow, I just murdered my sister. And then trying to, like, as you're being chased through the streets, trying to figure out what's going on. It doesn't feel like any of your roles have been phoned in, and I'm not saying you would ever phone in roles, but again, you can feel when somebody doesn't feel the role that they're doing, and none of anybody that I've chatted with has ever had that feel.
As games move on like into more interactive media as opposed to just video games, the roles that the voice actors fill are more and more important. Like even like going back to Margit or Morgott, the challenge that you issue forth, like when you actually deliver the lines, when you voice that character, makes all the difference in the world. And if the voice acting wasn't there, it's an incredibly important part of the experience. It's a real connection to the character and to the world And to have such quality voice acting in a game, it really immerses you. It's the difference between me just looking at the TV and me being a part of whatever experience I am trying to be immersed in. So you guys do an incredible job of pulling us into that. You make me want to kick your ass.
Nice.
So I have 3 questions that just popped up in my head just before we let you go. One of them is probably the most generic question that I ask is, if you had the opportunity to play any role, like carte blanche, what, like, is there anything that you would just be like, okay, Agent 47, I want to be Hitman. Like, is there any? Like, it's a very generic question.
I was gonna say SpongeBob SquarePants,
but if you had the opportunity, what would be your role, the dream role?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm really lucky that gaming or the game world has allowed me to play roles that I wouldn't be cast as because of how I look, you know. So being able to play vampires, or, you know, the characters in Elden Ring, or is already kind of a great release. And I think that's probably why, you know, you get a lot of great performances in games, because it's actors exploring and enjoying roles or characteristics, or you know, embodying characters and people they would never get cast as. And, you know, I tend not to get cast as kind of bad people, and because of maybe a lot of the television work or stage work I've done. But in game, fortunately, I think maybe because I have a deep voice, I get to often play the dark characters. So you know, even though, you know, I may still do it with a smile, it still allows us all to go into these different realms, or different, you know, types of people, beings, whatever you want to call them. So, you know, and just going back to watching the graphics of Diablo 4, that character and the voice and the way that I would never get cast as that character. So it's a joy to be able to, you know, be offered these roles where you can really,
a little more liberating. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just get into it. And, you know, if you need to be evil, you can be evil. But, you know, you don't have to spend 3, 4, 8 hours in prosthetics to kind of make you look that way. You can do it with your voice, and you can do it from, you know, collaborating with the director and the designers. So I don't know, one character, it would be really hard. Yeah, we might have to do a second session, and I'll
No, it's kind of, it's one of those questions that's, it's super generic, but just the answer is like, because
it makes you think.
Exactly, it makes
what
you,
do you want to do?
Yeah, it makes you think. But I mean, at the same time, like, it's like you said, like, I could see you as a Sith Lord, like, just that evilness, like, as like what is it, the fifth, like a brother, like the fifth brother from Obi-Wan or something, or but yeah, no, it's just like,
get on the phone with Disney, make it happen. Let's hear it.
Absolutely.
So do you have any advice for the younger generation that is maybe looking at getting into voice acting? Like, what would you say to somebody who wants to make that as their career, or like even acting?
Yes. Oh, wow. Gosh. I think since I graduated, acting has changed, and it's become a lot more difficult to make a living in the business. I would probably say it's a good idea to have a backup plan, because it is very, very competitive and very, very not overpopulated, but there are a lot of people out there. Training is always a great way. Now, it doesn't mean that every great actor out there has trained. There are just some brilliant actors who are just brilliant actors. But, you know, if you can train, great. And if the more experience you have, hopefully the better you become. So if you can get as much of whatever it is, amateur dramatics or, you know, your local community theater, whatever it is, if you can try it out, try it. That's another thing, because the idea of acting is so many different things to different people, and the reality might not quite meet that. So I would not sort of throw everything, you know, out with the bathwater. I would, you know, keep an open mind and just try it for a bit. And with voice work, from talking to directors that I've worked with, directors like performances. It's not about funny voices or different voices. It's about finding the truth within, you know, whichever character that your voice is suited to. You know, there'll be a range. You know, I don't think I'm likely to be playing, you know, young, very, very young characters. So I won't do that. But within the range that I'm able to voice, you have to find the truth, you know, whether it's an older character or whatever it is, and practice, you know, try things, you know, record yourself. But I think that the truth is the most important thing, because that's what you hear in a game anyway. It's different on screens because you see the actor, but in a game you have just the voice as well as the amazing animation. But so you're listening to, I think your senses are much more finely tuned to what you hear. So you, as you said, you know, if you feel like an actor's phoned in a performance, you can kind of tell. And when an actor's really kind of immersing himself and kind of has done the work, again, you can tell. So I think it's about becoming an actor who then voices characters rather than just becoming a voice performer. I mean, there are books and amazing directors out there who run courses on it. So, you know, if you can and you want to, I mean, my friend Andrea, who works at Blizzard, does course. Well, she does seminars, and she's incredible. And the performances she gets out of her actors are incredible, because she's looking at the performance and the actor, and that is the priority, not the kind of the funniness of the voice or the strangeness of the voice.
Yeah, so whether you're being seen or unseen, whether you're an actor or a voice actor, you still need to approach the character with the intent of, you know, fully immersing yourself in the character.
Yeah, and there are things you learn as an actor about performance. You know, what does your character want? What is the intention behind the line? What are the characteristics? Or, you know, there are various things that all weave in to creating the, you know, the character and the way you deliver a line. And it's a process. It's a collaborative process. You know, it's you and the designer and the director, and so being open, I think, as well, is another valuable thing, because you can go in thinking, you know, oh, I'm going to do this with this one, and the designer or the director will say, you know, we've rethought, and we think he should sound a bit more like this. So you know, you have to then just sort of unpick and find another way into it. But hey, I mean, I'm not a teacher.
No, but you can see that you're actually thinking about it, like you're trying to actually give
honest advice
Yeah.
about what it takes and what's involved. And it sounds like you could go down that rabbit hole and talk about it all day, because there is a lot to it. It's not just, okay, I'm going to stand in front of a microphone and talk.
Yes, and you know, the game actors or the voice actors that I know are actors. You know, Jane, John, because the amazing Neil, the amazing actors that I know who I've worked with in games are actors.
Yeah, for sure.
Who do game.
Like, especially as gamers, like when we hear certain voices in games, or not just certain voices, but you recognize certain voice actors the way that you would see them in a movie and be like, oh yeah, so he's in this or she's in this. And then when you hear that voice, it's very it's only the voice, because the character is always different and always looks different, but it's a very, you're in for something good when you hear a really great voice actor deliver the lines. You're like, okay, this is going to be awesome. Like,
yeah. And the more gaming I've done, or the more voice work I've done, the more I appreciate voice and the voice work. When I listen to, you know, Jane or other actors do their stuff, you just think, wow, this is...
It's incredibly important to me. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Oh, good. You see, this is what's so nice, because as a game voice artist, you very rarely get feedback, because everybody's in their rooms kind of playing the game.
Like, put it this way, like if they came out with Elden Ring and they came out like with DLC and your characters made a return and they, for whatever reason, chose to have somebody else voice the characters, I would be extremely disappointed. It would feel like...
It's one thing to have like a mimic, like somebody who sounds similar, but you can hear the nuances that aren't you.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's got to be the original. It's got to be the same. You know what I mean? And it has to be that same character.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear.
You're doing good work.
So just one last question / favor before we let you go and hit up the flea market. Is there anything that Margit can taunt to the NerdCast or taunt at us?
Let's think.
Put you on the spot there.
I shall remember thee, Nerdcasters, smoldering with thy meager flame.
That's awesome. That is
just say the word evil as evil as you can.
Evil.
Awesome. Nailed it.
Goosebumps. Well,
excellent.
Yeah, that's oh man, I love that. I love the chats in general, but my favorite part is putting somebody on the spot to have that line. And it's that personal touch that I feel like and again, it goes to speak to you about your like your experiences, like you feel it. It's not like you're put on the spot, so it's like I have to deliver. And that's phenomenal. So
the internet and these type of podcasts are absolutely awesome for being able to interact with actors and whatnot. And I just want to say I absolutely appreciate the fact that you took the time out to talk to us, because it's really great. It's really great having this level of interaction and having this kind of candidness. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's
my pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. It's been a really lovely chat. I've really loved it. Yeah, it's been great to meet you.
Do you have any like you're like a ghost online? Like, do you have any social media presence where people can like follow you, or not message, but like do you have a presence on Instagram or Twitter or anything like that? Like, do you have any handles?
Yeah, I recently rejoined Twitter. I was on Twitter many years ago and I left because it just became too much.
Toxic.
And then I rejoined earlier this year with a kind of just a very simple kind of presence, and that when games came out, I would post about games, or if things I felt were, it would be good to tweet about, I would tweet about. So I'm on Twitter, and it's just my name, Anthony Howell, but underscore at the end. And so that's mainly for gaming. Mm-hmm. And then on Instagram, I don't post. I'm under the handle of Anthony M. Howell, but it's basically full of my other sort of interests, which is gardening, interior design, architecture, and stuff like that. So very little to do with.
He's a really good artist too. So if you follow him on, he's phenomenal.
Amazing. Well, I'll follow. Are you guys on Twitter?
So I'm on at as the Northern Nerd, and then CST, because I couldn't fit cast for whatever reason. And you're on Twitter. Are you on Twitter?
No.
Yeah, he's more on Instagram where he posts stuff. But I also have more of a presence on Instagram. Twitter I do use a lot now because I find that I have an easier way of DMing people like you to have on the show. So, but yeah, it's Northern Nerd CST for me. But yeah,
mine's _iron_hobo.
Yeah, he's a hobo. So.
Now
sorry, can you repeat that one? It's
_iron_hobo.
Brilliant. I love that.
But now, see, you said that you're into gardening. So I just you're talking about like flower gardens?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just recently realized.
And fruit and vegetables.
I just recently realized that you can actually plant hostas with roses, and it's like blowing my mind because now my flower gardens are just all over the place.
So you like hostas too?
I do.
I've
had people tell me that they're the lazy man's flower, but I'm like, whatever. They're awesome plants.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I am following you on Twitter.
So we can have a whole other podcast about gardening because it's like my new thing. So
yeah, anytime. I could talk for hours about gardening. I love gardening. In fact, my hosta, I bought a hosta about 10 years ago from just a garden center, and it was in a pot, like a 2-liter pot.
Yeah.
It's now grown to be, it's probably like maybe 4 or 5 feet across.
Oh yeah, they'll take over your garden for sure.
Yeah, it's in a pot, so it's not going anywhere. But it's huge.
Nice.
I love hostas. I really do. Yeah.
See, this went from video games to hostas.
Flowers.
I think we should
real people.
More gardening within the gaming world,
Yeah, that's what we really need.
Garden simulator.
Garden simulator.
You can narrate the game.
Completely.
Perfect. Well, I'll let you guys chat via email or something. I'll set up a garden podcast, but for now we'll let you go. And I, again, really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us, and all the best with whatever projects you can't talk about. I'm sure.
Keep your secrets, wizard.
I'm sure if it's anything Souls, he'll be all over it, and if it's anything, I dabble in pretty much everything. So even Garden Simulator, if it comes out.
I'll be tweeting about it, so I will send you a message when I can, when I'm able to.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you'd be interested in coming back on the show with a future project, we'd love to have you back on to chat about it. And there is a third one of our crew, but he wasn't able to come with us this weekend. So we kind of did a NerdCast road trip down to Southern Ontario. So yeah, but again, we'll let you go for now. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Thank you. It's been great to meet you, Brad. Clayton,
Absolutely.
thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your day. It must be sort of early morning now.
It's you say 9:30? Is that 8:45 or 9:45?
Quarter to 9. Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right.
Well, okay. Well, take care.
You too. Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.